everybody. Welcome to the Sip and Sip podcast. I'm your favorite host, Milli. I know I've been gone for a while, but your girl had to take a little sabbatical and had to refocus, but I am back and I am happy to have a guest on tonight. He is a composer, a producer, an educator, and he is also a saxophonist hailing from the great city of Miami, Florida. Y'all give it up for Mr. Claudens Louis. Hey, Claudens, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here.
You know what? It is just a privilege, and I am so honored to have a award-winning saxophonist. I've never had someone that is immersed in the music industry as a saxophonist. And I'm just honored, and coming from the South where jazz is like very prevalent, I'm just very honored to have you on this platform.
Oh man, the honor's all mine. Super excited. And I know you say you're from Alabama, is it?
Yes, I am from Alabama,
Oh yeah.
raised, but I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana, so I am a Southern belle.
Oh nice. So you know about the jazz scene for real, for real. And those are two cities I love.
I do know about the jazz cities, the scene, everything. Being from, the heart of the South, which is Alabama, jazz, and of course, being born in New Orleans, all of that music, the culture is what I grew up with. And of course, my grandfather, he's 97 years old, and he loves jazz. Anytime he gets into my car, anybody's car, he's saying, I need to hear some jazz. And so we put it on for him. So I grew up listening to jazz. So I'm just elated to have you on.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's great. That is
Yes,
dope.
yes. So Claudens, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in Miami, obviously, but my background is Haitian. So
Mhm,
my parents born Haiti. They were born in Haiti. I born in Little Haiti and grew up around that culture. And the culture that made me is a lot of that music from Haiti, Tabu
mhm,
Combo, all of these very traditional Haitian bands. They made me. But then later on, I got introduced to jazz. And of course, being in Miami, you're introduced to so many things. So like
Yes,
you got Bahamians, you got Dominicans, Puerto Ricans,
yes.
Venezuela. It's so much music and culture that I found myself immersed in all of the music. So that all of that influenced me to be who I am today and how I create music.
Wow. And, just hearing that you are from Miami, and I know before we got on this podcast, I told you I've been to, Miami several times, and the weather is so bipolar down there. But one thing I love about going to Miami is the culture, the rich African American culture, other Latina and Latino cultures all immersed into one sound. So tell me about how you grew up in Miami and how that influenced you to become a saxophonist.
Well, growing up, starting out really, really young, I was in a community band,
Mhm.
playing snare drum, just playing snare,
Wow.
and I took to the drums early. But then, aftercare, my parents couldn't come and get me, so they had me taking piano lessons at the school. So it started there, and that music kind of already started forming me. But my dad himself, I don't know what was going on, but he was so deep into so many different kinds of music, like
Mhm.
his vinyl collection that I now have. We were always listening to like Lionel Richie, listening to Michael
Mhm.
Jackson, Celine Dion, Cyndi
Yes.
Lauper. And then we listen to all kinds of music. And around me is the same things, and going to school in what is now Wynwood. We're calling it
Mhm.
Wynwood, but we grew up with it, Alapata, that kind of area. You see a lot of Spanish people too. So,
Mm.
and salsa is a big thing down here. So all of
Yes.
that music, when I'm like creating and when I'm starting to like make my music or hear compositions, all of these influences start to come into my
Mm.
mind. And those things really, really affect the way I compose. But the saxophone itself didn't come into my life until later. It came into my life, it was like in 2007. And it was
Mhm.
actually put on me, to be honest, because I wanted to play drums and my band director was like, "We need a saxophone player," and I was like, "Nah, not me. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Ain't no way. I'm not doing that."
Mhm.
So I played trombone for a little bit, went to saxophone,
Mhm.
and the first thing that happened was I played like a scale. And
Mhm.
she was like, "Oh no, do you know what you just did?" And I'm like, "I have no clue. I don't know." She's like, "You have to stick with this." She was so gracious.
Mhm.
And from there, it was over. I fell in love with the sax. When I heard Dexter Gordon play and Coleman
Mhm.
Hawkins,
Mhm.
I'm like, "Yo, these dudes,
Mhm.
they doing what I like." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause I was
Yeah.
so hip to like hip hop. I was heavy in hip hop,
Mhm.
and hearing them, I'm like, they freestyling on the saxophone. Like, I
Mhm.
want to do that. I really want to do that. So I fell in love with jazz that way, and the rest is history, I guess.
Yes, the rest is history. And I love how you kind of immerse into, the band culture, like marching band, concert band. But I love to hear that you are multi-talented. You played the drums, the trombone, and the saxophone. Now let me ask you, do you play any other instruments?
So if you ask me to pick up the trombone right now,
Mhm.
ooh, you're not gonna like what you hear. But because that's an unforgiving instrument. If you don't stick with it, you know
Uh-huh.
what I'm saying? It'll be like, nah, I'm not your friend. You gotta give me attention. She
Yeah.
like the trombone wants attention. So
Mhm.
I play the saxophone. I compose a lot on piano. A
Mm.
lot on piano. And drums, I want to say those are the three mains. I'm learning bass now, and
Mhm.
I take to a lot of wind instruments too. So I play
Mhm.
flute and clarinet if I have to, but
Yeah.
my mains saxophone, keys, and drums.
Saxophone, keys, and drums is like a love relationship, with your instruments. Because I always want to ask, even my friends that played in marching band, concert band, is it like a love relationship with your instrument? And you will be surprised. They will look at me like, did you really just ask this question? Yeah. Like, but is this a love relationship that you have with your instruments, that you can create the music that you love to create?
I genuinely feel like my relationship with the saxophone, it's taught me so much, mainly because
Mhm.
it's the longest standing relationship that I've had. Like,
Wow.
deliberately, I made that intentional decision
Mm.
to do this and go on this journey. It's been about 17 years now,
Wow.
and there's not a day that goes by that I don't pick up the horn and
Mhm.
practice. And
Mhm.
that's one of the hardest things to do, because some days she nice to you, some days she not. Some days it sound good,
Yeah.
some days it don't.
Mhm.
And you gotta battle through that, knowing that,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, putting in the time and putting in the work, that,
Mhm.
this is really something that I love. So I wake up and I don't feel like I have to. Like, I feel like I really want to.
Mhm.
And the days that I don't practice, even though it's tough, I feel very uncomfortable. So
Mhm.
it is a love relationship, and
Mhm.
it's become that voice of mine that I can say the things that I really want to say, that I can't really put into words
Mhm.
sometimes, just
Mhm.
depicting it through my music and through the saxophone. So it's definitely a love-hate relationship, but
Mhm.
a lot more love than
A
hate
lot
for me.
more love than hate. A lot more love than hate. Can
Yeah,
you
yeah.
walk me through what goes on when you are composing a song? What is the creative process like? Because me, I have no musical ear. I used to play clarinet maybe for a hot second when I was in like fifth grade, and then dropped out of band. It was not for me. But what goes through the creative process when you are composing a song?
So for me, going to school for music, you learn concepts to compose, right? Like, things that you can use, vehicles you can use to compose, to make a song, to
Mhm,
make a melody, whatever. Like, which is cool.
mhm,
But for me personally, when I am composing, I am genuinely composing based off of events that have happened, are
mm,
happening in my life.
mhm,
So I take on, in my own practice, when I practice, is something I do, which some musicians find it to be interesting. I picked it up from somewhere else. Is like, I'll put the TV on and
mhm.
I'll mute it, and the TV will be muted, and I will practice just depicting that motion picture that I'm seeing with the sounds that are coming from the horn.
Wow.
So a lot of times when I'm walking, or when I'm experiencing something, or when I hear some news, or when I'm feeling a thing, I always have
Mhm,
my phone nearby. I'm voice noting. I'm always singing into my phone. And once I hear it,
mhm,
that's kind of my process. I sit at the piano then with the voice, and I'm just kind of figuring it out. And that's how
mhm,
my process starts. And after that, it develops by eventually, putting it down on paper,
Mhm.
um, and giving it to the group, and then we start recording and start doing stuff and
Yes.
take it to the people and see how they feel about it.
Yes.
But
And you talk about your group, and we're gonna talk about the CL experience because you all have done such a remarkable job in the community and you travel so many places, and we're going to talk about that. But I know that, when we started this podcast, I did introduce you as an educator. So tell me, what led you to get into education and wanting to give back and teaching in your community?
well, starting out, I always knew that I wanted to teach. It
Mhm.
was just something I always wanted to do. I don't know, because I don't know, anytime I have had something, that's kinda how I grew up. If I had something and it
Mhm.
was good, I gotta share it with my homies or share it with
Mhm.
my brother, or share it with somebody. Like, that's just how it's always been. And so I felt that I had this gift and I was able to learn. So from the very, very early stages, I was like, I gotta teach this to people. And then I found out I could make me some money. So
Mhm. Yes.
I started teaching really,
Mhm.
really early. At about age 15, I had started
Wow.
first doing private lessons and teaching
Wow.
younger students that were at my art school.
Mhm.
Um, but then when I graduated, I really wanted to focus my attention to kind of like young people that grew up how I grew up, like in Little
Mhm.
Haiti, because there's also this stigma about musicians and about how we are and what we do and this and that. And
Mhm.
I wanted to bring a positive energy to these young kids in Little Haiti to show them that, yeah, man, you can be a musician and you can have positive impact as
Mhm.
opposed to doing all these negative
Mhm.
things. So I started teaching as the director, regional like director,
Mhm.
the Miami Music Project in Little Haiti. And so I
Wow.
was completely immersed in the youth of Little Haiti all across Miami too. And it was a beautiful, beautiful 3 years. And then I went on tour, and I came back in 3 years. And then now I am the jazz instructor at the Miami Arts Charter School where I graduated from.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Congratulations.
where it started, well, the jazz journey started.
Yes.
And I'm teaching there daily, and I'm on 2.5 years now there, which has been
Mhm.
beautiful.
Mhm.
And while on the road in 2018, I became a jazz ambassador
Wow.
with the US Department of Educational and Cultural Affairs, where they send me with American music abroad. I've done things with US embassies in Haiti,
Mhm.
Tanzania,
Mhm.
Eastern Europe, Mexico, Costa Rica, just
Wow.
teaching uh, these wonderful people just about
Mhm.
that language and culture and social
Mhm.
status
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
not a barrier, when it comes to music, because it
Yeah.
I've seen in so many different ways how it brings us together despite cultural
Yeah.
differences. So that's been my teaching journey, and I'm still
Wow.
doing all of that today, and I love it to death.
Wow. What has been like one of the most rewarding um, things about teaching within your community, especially giving back to that community? What has been like the rewarding thing for you as an educator so far on your journey?
So far, specific to my community, it's been just seeing young Haitian boys and girls that
Mhm.
actually felt like, they couldn't do it. Like,
Wow.
you know
Mhm.
what, I'm just doing this right now, but my parents, they not gonna let me do this.
Mhm.
They're not gonna allow me to do this because I can't make money off of this. I can't live like this. I'm not gonna get no scholarship. I'm not gonna do this. Da, da, da. And there was always a huge emphasis, if you're running through my program as a musician
Mhm.
too, you have to have your grades together as well.
Yes.
So this was a big thing. And so seeing my kids, I had last year, I had a couple of students get like full rides to go study jazz at FSU and study jazz. I had one of my students go and study jazz at Berklee College of Music on a full
Wow.
ride. And seeing that, just I don't know, man.
Mm,
There's no feeling like it. Like, being on stage is great. It's beautiful. It's a different kind of
mhm,
high. It's a different feeling of like
mhm,
adrenaline. But that is so fulfilling to
mhm,
me, and just seeing my kids actually go through with it, even
mhm.
though everyone around them thought they couldn't do it. I love it.
I love to hear that. And I love that, you went back to where you started from. It's like you got your foundation at the school, and now to come back as an alum of the school and, the school district, the city, it is so rewarding. I always look at, when people ask me to come to like my old high school or my old elementary school and really just seeing the kids and talking to them about what I do, and you can see that they are interested, the passion that you have for music, and you are instilling in your students, so that will carry them all over the world. Because the main thing is coming back, giving back to the community, but also being successful. And whatever you're learning at home or wherever you're learning in the classroom is going to take you so far. And I think that you are doing an excellent job of teaching your students about that, because this is your passion. And I feel like we all have a purpose, and your purpose has been music, and now you're teaching, and it is like you have a calling, which is, it kind of transformed through your music, and you as an educator, composer, as well as a musician.
That's every day. I'm still shocked. Like,
Hmm.
I wake up and I go do it, and I'm like, is this really what I do? Like, is this what I do? Like,
Yeah.
wow. You know what I'm saying? And that feeling you said too about getting called back to your schools,
Yeah.
to do the thing. I ran into one of my fifth grade teachers at the gym the other day. And
Wow.
he was like, and then we got caught up. And he's like, man, I want you to come back to the elementary school. This is my last year and I'm retiring. Come back and talk to my kids. And I'm like, I'm so excited for that because
Yes.
I haven't been back to my elementary school in I don't so many years. It's been
Same.
ages. And
Yes.
to be able to go back and, inspire and hopefully inspire and
Mhm.
speak to these kids, it's just honestly, I'm humbled every day. And it pushes
Yeah.
me to be like, let's just keep working.
Yes. And you will keep working, because it does something when people that have taught you and they ask you to come back. That means that they have watched you bloom. They have watched you grow into, this successful person who can just come back to the school and instill in the kids what your teacher instilled in you. And that is always, when I think about educators, and I have friends that have gone back to teach at our respective high schools or elementary schools, even on the higher ed level in college, and just to see that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I would never go back to a school, but just to see all of that, it is a wonderful feeling. I'm so happy and elated for you that you will be going back and teaching the
Yeah,
kids one day at a time of your love and your passion for music.
for sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm excited.
Yes, yes. Now you've traveled like all around the world as a musician, and with your own CL Experience group, and you've performed with like notable artists like Wyclef Jean, Jason Derulo, and Grammy Award winner Shaun. How was that moment for you, being able to tour and go to so many different countries and cities? How was that for you?
it's always it's literally always like a pinch me moment.
Mhm,
It's always
mhm.
like, you go through it and it's like, all right, like you get the call and the call is always weird. It's like, who? you want me to do what with who? And it's like, what?
Yeah.
But then, when you're on stage and then
Mhm,
like I remember specifically with Shaun, and me and Shaun have done so many things together. And it's like, just
mhm,
when I look across the stage and see Shaun, I'm just like, I, I I'm like, how did I end up here? And it's always, I then get to reflect on the fact that, man, it's been so many years,
mhm,
and this daily thing that I'm doing, just to
mhm,
keep doing it because the call wasn't by accident. If it
mhm,
happened, it's for a reason. And
Mhm.
it just pushes me to keep doing it. And I just always play in that moment from a point of
Yeah.
absolute gratitude. Like
Yes.
I'm just extremely grateful for the
Mhm.
opportunity to even share the stage with these people. And
Yes.
they've just been extremely gracious to me, and they've been become more than just, colleagues. They're
Mhm.
mentors, and
Mhm.
some as family, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But the traveling aspect of it,
Mhm.
it believe it or not, at first when I first started touring, the traveling aspect was actually really tough because what'll happen is I remember New Orleans being a place I always wanted to go to because everyone always
Mhm.
talked about New Orleans. I went to New Orleans 4 times before I got to actually go to New Orleans,
Wow.
because every time I toured, it was like, "Let's stop in New Orleans. Okay, sound check. Drop your stuff at the hotel. All right, take a quick nap. Showtime. Next city."
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that happened to me 4 times before I
Wow.
got to actually see New Orleans, where I had a day, like, I had 2
Mhm.
days off to actually enjoy the
To
city.
enjoy, and one thing when I always talk about going back home, it is something about the culture that pulls you in when you cross the bridge, which way
Woo.
you're going, if you're riding on a plane, if you're driving in. It's just something about New Orleans culture that sucks you in, that pulls you in. The history, number one, the music, the culture, the food is
Oh, the
like
food.
outstanding. Like, if you have never experienced the
Oh my
food of
god.
New Orleans, please, who's ever watching, make sure you experience New Orleans. You need more than two
Different.
days, but
It's
it's just
different.
not like it.
Ain't nothing like it. Like,
It's
I'll
nothing
never
like it.
forget the first thing I had in New Orleans. I had and also it was the first time I ever had a po' boy in my life. I had a po' boy at Bamboula's on Frenchman Street,
Oh
and
wow!
I lost my mind. And now
Now,
every time I'm there, I must go to Bamboula's. Like, it's
yes,
a must,
you
you know?
you must get a po' boy. Now let me ask you, what kind of po' boy did you get? Did you get a shrimp
Shrimp,
po' boy?
shrimp,
Shrimp. See, there it
shrimp,
is. Fried,
shrimp.
crispy, golden,
Yeah.
and seasoned. You
Yes.
know, you got
Yes.
to have you a po' boy.
Stop.
But I
Stop.
gotta ask you, did you get the famous beignets? Did you
Of
go to Cafe
course.
Du Monde?
Of course, I went to Cafe du Monde. And I
Look,
messed up. I went to Cafe du Monde right before my gig, like right before I had to play at Blue Nile, which is
uh-huh.
like not too far from there. And I, like, how the beignets are. It
Yes,
gets messy.
it does.
And I was wearing, with that tour, it was like a very like all black tour. Most times I'm wearing black, as you can see. And it was like, no. I dove into these beignets, and trust me, I came out looking like a snowman. Like, my blacked outfit for stage was like completely whited out. It was, oh my god, it was
I
so
mean, like you, okay, Claudens. Like next time you go, and if you're going to perform, do not. You need to have a bib on or something. Put the
for
napkin
sure.
in
Yeah,
your,
for
put
sure.
the napkin in your shirt that says, can I get messed
Yeah,
up?
yeah,
I put my
yeah,
all
yeah,
black
yeah.
on. But experiencing like the different cities that you go to, do you think that these are some of your favorite moments that you have had while on tour?
Yeah, I think what's beautiful about, like, myself and my music is very
Mm-hmm.
different, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a fusion of many different things
Mm-hmm.
that have influenced me. But one of the things that we take from jazz culture is we're always like jazz musicians, and we're a huge storytelling community.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a huge culture behind storytelling. It's a huge
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like, we'll sit around, we're at the gig is over, and we sit there just telling stories for hours. Like, it's just like that. And being able to tour some of these cities and see these, I have stories for years. Like,
Wow.
ah man, like the just coming into these cities for the first
Mhm,
time, how these
mhm.
cities smell, how they feel, the people, the different
Mm,
accents, the food. It's there's no, like, no city is like another city. Like,
mhm.
there's like similarities maybe here and there, but like
Yeah.
there's no way you could compare a New Orleans. Actually, my first time in New Orleans, that night I had to go to Alabama. Oddly enough,
Wow. What part of
I,
Alabama did you go to?
we were in Montgomery,
Oh, you
and
were
we
right
were
in the gum. You
in
were right here in the gum.
yeah, and we were in
Wow.
Birmingham as well. We played at a place called, was it the Half Note or the Perfect Note, something
Is
like
it the
that.
Blue Note?
No, the Perfect. note. One of the
The perfect
notes.
note, that's in Birmingham. Where did you play in
Birmingham,
Montgomery?
yes, the perfect note,
Where did you
yes.
play in Montgomery?
I don't remember.
Was it BB
And
King's Blues Club?
no, it was not. It was, I don't remember the name of this place. It was years ago because we haven't been to Alabama. I haven't been to Alabama have I? Since, I don't think. Um, I know I played at USA,
Okay.
University of Southern Alabama.
Okay,
Country
that's in
Life.
Mobile. Mm-hmm.
Mobile, there you go,
Yeah.
Mobile. I was in Mobile as well. And that was the last leg of the tour actually. I was in
Wow.
USA. I don't
Wow.
remember where I played at in Birmingham though,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. It defeats me. But so many, even that, just different parts of Alabama was like, you're like, yo, it's a different vibe, it's a different
Yes.
energy. It was a beautiful, beautiful tour. And
Mm-hmm.
going from one place to the next is always beautiful. I'm learning all the time. I'm always asking questions. We going somewhere, I'm like looking into the culture, and I love to see
Yeah.
what's the type of music people are listening to
Yeah.
in that city.
Yeah.
What's the vibe so that,
Mm-hmm.
I like to
Mm-hmm.
come in and kind of make my references and be able to talk to people and understand and try to get hip to the culture. You get to dive in, even if it's for sometimes 4 hours,
Yeah.
sometimes a day, 2 days. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's beautiful.
And I hope that you get a chance to come back to good old Alabama and come to Montgomery. And while you're here, hit me up. I'll take you around some good places, good museums, African American museums, and the culture is like really, really dope. So I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk about your project that you have. It's called the CieL Experience, and you are the band leader. As you are. So how
Yeah.
did you come up with, the name and of course with this project?
So the CL experience, or you can call it the CL experience, however you want to say it. So CL in Creole and French, ciel means heavenly or sky.
Mm,
And the thing that I kind of noticed, especially starting to be on tour and be around a lot of people when I was younger, like at 16, going around and just being in these environments, I realized that there's a lot of stuff happening. Like, you might catch a lot of substance abuse, or you might catch
mhm,
people doing a lot of alcohol or doing these different kinds of things. And I just realized that a lot of the people I really looked up to in records and stuff were not around sometimes
mhm,
due to these things.
mhm,
And I said, man, there's this common thing in the jazz world where everyone calls their band the XYZ quartet or the XYZ quintet or the XYZ trio. And it's like, okay, your name and the amount of people in your
mhm,
band. And like that was the thing. And I was like, when I think about my music and think about, the difference that we bring is that
mhm,
it's not just music. We do provide people with an experience through
mhm,
instrumental music and through crowd participation. And it's very much an energy thing. And I said, it feels very heavenly. It feels like you feel like you own something, even if you're not.
mhm,
And so that's where CieL comes from, where it's like we can give you that heavenly experience, that experience of being so elated without the drugs.
mm,
And so, but why people see it as capital C, lowercase I-E, capital L is because
mhm.
it's also my initials. So CL, Claudens Louis are my initials, but it's the CL experience. So
Oh
that's how the name
wow,
came
that is so creative.
about.
I was wondering what the capital C and the capital L was, but I didn't
Yeah,
put it together that those are your initials, and that's
those are
kind
my
of
initials.
creative. That is kind of creative. Now, with this CL experience, I'm gonna put a little twang on it. Listen, Claudens,
Oh
I'm
my
from the
God.
South, I'm a little bit country.
I
So
like that.
the
I like that.
CieL Experience, you
Hmm.
combine R&B, hip hop, Haitian music within like your sound. Um, was this influenced by Miami culture?
For sure.
Mm.
100%. Like, even the way we record and the
Mm-hmm.
way our records sound is
Mm-hmm.
all about, because Miami in the 90s and stuff, like, we kind of came out with that big bass.
Mm-hmm.
We were big bass. Like, that's one of the things that made Miami, like, big bass. And when you're hearing jazz music, you generally hear very toned bass, like
Mhm.
toned bass and like a lighter sound, sometimes a deeper approach, but the bass ain't never like thick. And I was like,
Mhm.
you know what? I really do love jazz music, but I
Mhm.
also really love, Wayne. I really love
Mhm.
the music that I came up with. Jeezy.
Yeah.
I really love, you know what I'm saying? I love this stuff.
Mhm.
I listen to this walking the streets when I'm walking to school as a youngin. And
Mhm.
one of the things I always enjoyed doing was when I'm listening to music, I love to bump to it. Like I love that
Yeah.
feeling. So
Yeah.
I was like, I
Yeah.
want to make jazz music that is sure in its sense, it's intelligent in a way, and it's this and that, and it can be all these things. But mainly, I want you to feel something, and
Mhm.
I want you to wanna dance. I want you to
Yes.
wanna dance. I want you to wanna move. And that's the way we even set up our mixes, where like we'll do a jazz record, but if you put it in your car,
Mhm.
you might be like,
Like,
yo, like
vibing to it, like
I never, I didn't know this jazz record could have me doing this, like,
Yes. Uh-huh.
and that's the vibe. So, and all that comes
Mm.
from Miami culture, like
Mm.
walking the streets and hearing these guys blasting 18s in their trunks, and you
Mhm.
hearing all this music, and even if I studied the music, I think the feeling that I like to give from music is very human from the experience that I experienced being in my neighborhood as a kid. So, definitely hugely influenced by Miami culture.
I love that. I really love Miami culture. Like I've said, I've gone to Miami a couple of times and it is always a vibe. But the music, and I am the type of person, I listen to all genres. It doesn't I love Latin music, I love country, I love hip hop, R&B, like, I listen to everything. But it's just something about the Miami culture which kind of sets the tone. Like I love the Caribbean style, I'm from the South, of course, but we don't have a lot of Caribbean style music where I am from, where I live. But going to Miami and traveling there, it does open your mind up, and opens your musical taste. For me, it did. I will say
Mhm.
that it did. Now with you, being a musician and you wear so many hats, educator, band leader, composer, how do you balance? And when I'm talking about is, how do you balance like your mental health? I'm a advocate of mental health, and I don't usually ask a lot of musicians, but I know it gets tough. How do you balance yourself and your mental health, with traveling all over the world, teaching, being a band leader, having your own project, and just being immersed in the world of music? How do you balance like your mental health and take care of yourself?
So that's a really amazing question. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
Um, and when you're a quote unquote high functioning person or human
Mhm.
being, people tend to think like it's always, oh, they're fine.
Mhm.
Person's good, they're good.
Mhm.
But one thing I can say is I didn't always have it together. And even in my primary years of touring, I completely didn't have it together at all. And it took some time. And I think when I about 24, 25 years old, 20, yeah, around that area of time,
Mhm.
that's when I started realizing that, man, there's this thing called a calendar,
Mhm.
and you should use it.
Mhm.
And,
Yes.
and that has helped me a ton with my mental health. Literally, just the usage of the calendar, because I can look at the calendar, and if it gives me too much anxiety, if it gives me anxiety just looking at it,
Mhm.
that means I'm saying yes to too much.
Mhm.
And when
Yeah.
I became like, I think it really hit me 25, 26, I was like, I learned how to say no.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and there's a difference between being productive and
Mhm.
being like destructive.
Mhm.
And
Ooh, I like that.
sometimes you could be so productive and doing so many things. You're like, oh, I'm gonna take anything. I'm gonna take this gig. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna
Mhm.
do this. I'm
Mhm.
gonna, oh yeah, let that tour out. Sure. All right, cool. I'm gonna come back. Oh, I'll get one day with my family. Is, oh no, but there's another tour coming. You want to do that one? Oh, sure, I'll do it. Yeah. And there's never time for self. And
Mhm.
that was what I was dealing with early on for a while. But then I started really making time for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I got therapy. Please, y'all get some therapy, man. Like,
Yes. It has helped me so much. That had therapy changed my life.
same, same.
Therapy changed my
And you
life.
don't have to be like, I think there's just this weird stigma. I mean, especially in Haitian culture, it's like, oh, I'm not crazy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to be that. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
the beautiful thing about therapy is it just provides you this beautiful space to be more self-aware. And I
Yes.
think everyone can be more self-aware
Mm-hmm.
and can be more loving to
Mm-hmm.
themselves. So
Yes.
therapy has been a great help with that, and
Mm-hmm.
literally making time for me. Like, I feel like when I show up and I
Mm-hmm.
practice, that's
Mm-hmm.
me showing up for her, the saxophone.
Yes. Yes.
She is greedy, but I gotta show up for her or
Yes.
she gonna make me pay for it. But then how do I show up for me? I try to
Mm-hmm.
get in the gym. I try to take a walk every day. I try to do my meditation, like, just get my breaths
Mm-hmm.
in, make sure I'm
Yeah.
doing that stuff,
Mhm.
get my reading in. Like, these are things that I do to show up for me, like,
Yes.
make sure I do that. And the
Yes.
things that I enjoy, I try to make sure I jump in. I'm like, I love
Mhm.
cooking. So it's like, if I can
Okay.
just do that, like,
Yeah.
find some time to do
Mhm.
that at some point in the week, even if I'm running around
Mhm.
everywhere and eating out is easier, but I
Mhm.
find peace when I'm cooking. I love
Mhm.
cooking. So doing these things and making space for them, that has allowed me to really, really protect my mental health. And I'm a
Mhm.
believer too, so putting my life has always been God, family, music,
Yes.
making sure that those things are in check. Like, every time I flip it and I'm
Mhm.
too deep into my career and doing stuff,
Mhm.
stuff
Mhm.
gets messy and my
Yes.
mental goes crazy. But
Yes. Same.
whenever I just, man, I'm doing what I need to do with God, my family's together, I'm spending time with them and doing what I need to do.
Mhm.
Everything, the music takes care of itself, the practice takes care of itself, and my mental is fine. So
Yes.
keeping that in mind has always helped me out big
Yeah,
time.
I'm glad that you answered that question, and that's a question I don't really ask a lot of people that I interview, because some people don't like talking about mental health, but I feel like in our community, our Black community, it needs to be talked about. I'm an advocate of going to therapy. I've gone to therapy, loved it, still love it, and it's all about working on you, on your growth. Your mental health is so important. And I wanted to ask that because as an artist, when you ripping and running so much, and then it's like you see a lot of artists, a lot of musicians, people in this entertainment industry, they kind of pour from an empty cup, and you see
Mm,
that their energy is giving out. They have to go on a sabbatical because they were doing too much. But now hearing what you said, and it is very prevalent that all musicians, anybody in the entertainment industry, please self-care, please go to therapy. And it's okay to not be okay. It is
yes.
okay to not be okay. Because
Yeah.
I was not okay for a long time, and it took me going to therapy. It took me hitting rock bottom, and I'm not saying the usage of drugs or anything, but feeling depressed and having the anxiety. I didn't know I had it, and just hitting
Hmm.
rock bottom. And I had to go to therapy and going to God. And now I feel so much peace, and my growth is like immaculate. And I'm so proud of myself because day by day I'm growing, but I'm protecting my peace, and I am advocating for my mental health. And it's okay to say no, because something that you said, I learned how to say no. And that's something I started learning. It's okay to
Yep,
say no.
yep,
It's okay to say no. Now
yeah.
I want to talk about you released a new single, and it's called Silence Please. Tell me
Yeah.
about it and the meaning behind it.
Oh man, silence, please. So no matter how much I move, no matter whatever I'm doing, I'm
Mhm.
touring, I'm moving, performing. Again, I always say nothing kind of brings me that energy and that feeling as being in the classroom. And uh, Silence Please is kind of a project that's
Mhm.
belongs to a bigger project, which is
Mhm.
my record, my album that's coming out soon, called Influences.
Yeah.
And this particular song, Silence Please, is an ode to my students, and you hear their voices at the very beginning of it,
Yeah.
and they're just screaming, from Little Haiti actually, and they're
Mhm.
just screaming, and there's this thing that I realized that as a young kid, it's like we react a lot to someone screaming at us, or
Mhm.
we react to the physical, like we react to these things, but my kids and I, we had this thing called like a silent signal, right? So it would be like, I'll tell them to be quiet. If they hear me, they hear me. I'm not gonna raise my voice at them. I ain't
Mhm.
screaming. That's not my style. If you make me scream, something's really
Yeah.
bad. But we had this silent signal where I would clap and my clap would be, and they would respond with, and once they responded that way,
Mhm.
everyone knew there had to be dead silence right at the end of that clap.
Mhm.
And so that's what you hear right at the beginning of the song. And that rhythm is actually what happens throughout the whole song. And
Wow.
it also is in there in bits and pieces where the song will stop, where you'll
Mhm.
hear the drummer just go da 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 and it'll stop and we go right
Mhm.
back into the groove.
Mhm.
So all of this, and you hear a lot of Haitian rhythms and a little bit of
Mm.
the Brazilian influence, because I had some Brazilian students that year too. They were these twins. They were amazing. But like it's like most of my students are, Haitian and Bahamian and all these Caribbean kids, and it's like that energy, and it's a very happy song, as
Mhm.
opposed to a lot of my songs kind of like be like telling my dark stories. But
Yeah.
this tune is very happy in essence, and
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
wanted to portray the happiness and the lightness and the funness of not just the community but the kids.
Yeah.
So when you hear the song, it's very uplifting. It feels
Yes.
light, um, and it's genuinely just it's for my kids,
Mm.
and like the whole way through, their response is the cowbell of the Haitian rhythm that goes da 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 which is in that Haitian
Mhm.
music realm, and it all just comes together, and it fits so well. I don't know what I was thinking, but I heard it, and now here it is.
It was
And
something like I've never heard before because it is awesome. You are fantastic. You're awesome.
oh,
Very awesome. Very awesome. And I know I cannot wait because you just said that you have an album coming up. So can you give us a little bit of details on the new album that is coming out and what it's called and when it will be dropping?
okay, so the name of the album is Influences. And the reason why
Mhm.
is because you're going to be hearing a ton of my influences. Some of the singles have come out already, as
Mhm.
you've probably heard, Late Nights at the
Mhm.
Site. Some of these things I'm rapping on, some of them in Seven, and
Mhm.
some of them is like different jazz fusion situations. And it's just literally depicting everything that I've heard and I've encountered throughout my life leading to this point. And Silence Please is a part of a portion within the album, so
Mhm.
the project within the project called A Day in the Life. And this part of the album is depicting one, like a day in my life as a regular, in
Mhm.
acts and scenes. So you'll have 7 a.m. Act 1,
Mhm.
Silence Please Act 2, which is time with my
Oh
kids,
wow,
Late
yeah.
Nights at the Site Act 3,
Mhm.
and then you have Strolling Through Love Act 4, and then Act 5, 8 Hours on Cloud 9. Like all of this is this, and 8 Hours on Cloud 9 is coming out this Friday actually.
Oh,
But
got that exclusive right here on the Super Set
yeah,
Podcast.
yeah, that's coming out. And so it's
Mhm.
literally a depiction of all of the things that have influenced me, the flavors, the food, the
Mhm.
people, the love, and all of it. It's all of that in a nutshell. When is it coming out? Very, very soon.
Very, very soon. Now you know when it
Not
comes
gonna have to
out,
wait long.
Claudens. Now you know when it comes out, Claudens. You have to come back on the Sip Sip podcast. We need to do like a listening party. We need to I get the snacks. We can tune in. We can have a special edition of when that album drops.
For
And I
sure.
know recently you were in the New York Times Square. You had a billboard. So tell me about that and how was that for you?
Wow. Anytime it's mentioned, I'm still confused. Like I'm just like,
Like, how did this happen? But you know what? When God blesses you and anoints you, I mean, look at all the opportunities that have come open through him.
yeah, yeah, no,
So, be proud of that. Be
oh
proud
yeah,
of
oh
that.
yeah, it's incredible. I took a trip to New York. I'm
Mhm,
always in and out of New York. Playing, recording, hanging.
mhm,
I love the culture in New York as well with the music. I'm always there. And this time around specifically went, and I have a wonderful, wonderful team now at Melodious Entertainment that seriously look out for me
mhm,
and have done so much for me. I'm eternally grateful for them. But there was a friend of mine that was supposed to
mhm,
be having a billboard up in New
mhm.
York. And I was like, great. I was like, let's go support them. And so we're going super fast to try to get there. They tricked me. And so if you watch this video, you see I'm extremely tricked. I had no idea this was happening.
Wow.
Yeah, because we had been talking about design and about it
Mhm.
for a long time, but they was never told that it was going to be launched. And so I'm there hustling myself to go and catch my boys' billboard. I'm like, all right. And they're like, all right, it's gonna
Mhm.
come. And I'm like, I got my phone up. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And then as I'm like looking, I'm like,
Wait, that's me.
it's just like it's an overwhelming feeling because it's
Mm,
just like it's one of those things that I always saw from
mhm,
my first time going to New York when I was like 6 or 7 years old. No, I
mhm,
was like 9 or 10, and
mhm,
just seeing Times Square, it was one of the first places I went to, and I was like, "This is amazing! Like this is
mhm,
so insane! All the
mhm.
screens." I never thought I'd ever see myself there.
Wow.
On like a 90-foot billboard. Like I was like, man, like that's me and my guys and everything that we worked for. And I just saw all the years and all the struggles, and it
Mhm.
was a full circle moment. I
Right, right.
incredible, incredible. I
Yes,
just grateful again. Another one of those things that pushes me, and I say, hey, you know what? Let's keep working.
yes,
There's work to be done.
yes.
Um, it's been 17 years. Let's keep
Wow.
pushing. Let's see what happens in the next 17.
Let's see what happens. It's gonna be more billboards in Times Square. You're gonna be
Yeah.
international. You're gonna be in Paris and
Yeah.
Italy. You're gonna
Yeah.
be here in Alabama, LA.
For sure.
The possibilities are endless. The possibilities are endless. And Claudens, as we wrap up this interview, any last words that you would like to give to anyone who is a musician, a composer, even an educator? Any quotes or any words of encouragement that you would give, or any advice you would give to someone who is trying to get on this journey and is a little bit scared and don't know what to expect, but looking at you and your success, what would you say to anyone that is trying to get on this journey and going into music?
I would say, the thief of any success, and I just told this to my students actually a couple of days ago. The thief of any success or any progress is fear.
Mm,
Um, so if you have a fear of not being the best, or if you have a fear of not making it, that is where you are doing yourself a huge disservice. So
mhm,
take fear out of it, go for it, and go
mhm.
for it every day. The consistency
Yes.
that you put into this thing is
Mhm,
ultimately what's gonna show in the years to come.
mhm,
Wake
mhm,
up and put that time in. Like, if
mhm,
you have to do a day job, you have to do something else. Because I know it's not easy for everyone to say, "Oh, I'm just gonna do this full time."
mhm,
If you gotta do your job, but somehow find some time. If you really love this thing,
mhm.
go and do it every day. Like, don't
Yes.
let a day go by that you don't do it.
Mhm,
Do that thing and don't compare yourself to nobody else and
mhm,
nobody else's journey because
mhm,
everybody journey different.
mhm,
Like
mhm,
I'm on mine, you on yours.
mhm,
Do your thing every single day. And one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite speakers of all time is Mr. Les Brown. And
mhm,
he said, uh, people that make it in this world look around for the situations that they want, and if they can't find them, they create them.
Mm.
No, easy is not an option. It's hard. However, ladies and gentlemen, what you will discover is that it's worth it. And
Amen to that.
that is the absolute fact.
Mm,
If you're in a city and you play and you got something special, or you want to see the music scene better, don't wait for somebody to call you for the gig. Don't wait for that venue. Don't wait for this. Go get it.
mhm.
Create it. Start something. Be a game changer. Be a community builder, and do your thing and make your mark. I think you believe in yourself, and that's going to take you very, very far away.
I love it. I love it. Great advice. Something I needed to hear, and I'm glad that you say that. To be continue to be consistent, and it's going to pay off. Claudens, thank you so much for coming on the Sip and Sip podcast. You are not a stranger here on this platform. You are family now, and of course, you got to come back when the album drops, and we're
For
gonna do like a
sure.
special, album release. We're gonna listen to the songs. We're gonna get into it, and of course, please share all of your social media handles so people can follow you, stay up to date with what you have going on, especially the viewers in Miami and all over the world.
Hey.
Please share your social media contacts.
So I am at Claudens Sax. That is CLAUDENSAX on everything. And if you want to hear the music, you can check the music on all platforms, and it'll be at the CieL Experience. So that's the, and then CIEL, and then experience, all spaced out, as you would normally spell experience. And you can find our music everywhere: Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you like to check it out, YouTube, you name it, it's there.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's all over the
Oh, and the
internet
website, the
and the website. Oh, drop your
CLExperience.com.
website.
CLExperience.com, where you can purchase the music directly there, so you can have it on your phone for you. I'll be doing a
Yes.
giveaway this coming week on the new single, so y'all could go purchase it, and that directly helps the band to continue pushing forward these projects. So,
Oh
yeah.
yes, make sure you all support him, follow him at Claudens Sax. Make sure you follow him, stream his music, the CieL Experience. I mean, you won't be disappointed. It's a different sound. I love it. I fell in love with your music and the group. I love it, and I just cannot wait to see and hear what you do next. And y'all, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. We got to continue to be consistent. We got to continue to have so many more people to come on here to talk about their journey with their professions, their lives. But I need you to do me a favor. I need you to click that like button. I need you to subscribe so you can know when a new episode is dropping. We drop episodes every week. I was off last week, but we're coming back every week now. We're going to stay consistent. And I appreciate you for tuning in to another episode of the Sip and Sip podcast. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.